Hello, everybody. Welcome to Fire TV. My name is Gus G, and today I want to talk about the album that changed my life forever. So, obviously, I'm going to be talking about Mr. Ozzy Osbourne, my former boss. In case you didn't know, maybe some of you are new here, I did used to play in Ozzy's band from about 2009 until maybe early 2000 or late 2016, early 2017. Yeah, and I got to record one album with the man. So the album is called Scream. I'm actually wearing the t-shirt of the album cover here. I still have, this is actually the album release t-shirt that we did a gig at House of Blues in Anaheim, I want to say. No, in West Hollywood. Yeah, and this was like a t-shirt for it, and I have one of them. So yeah, I wanted to talk about this album, the process, share some of the stories. Obviously, I've talked about it in press for many years, but you know, I thought I would put out a bunch of info here and some stories for you guys here on my official YouTube channel. So you know, the time was late 2009. Yeah. I'm gonna take it back to the start. Originally, I got the gig with Ozzy through an audition in LA. I got to play a couple of gigs with him. I did a couple of festivals. The first one was at BlizzCon in Anaheim, California, and it was a convention for video games. And the second one was Sunset Strip Music Festival. I remember doing the first one, and then the Osbournes called me back to do the second gig. So I went to LA, not knowing what was going to happen next. I think at that point they were also kind of figuring things out. They were not sure what to do, so they were kind of like testing me out. I think that's what it was. So yeah, I went back, I played Sunset Strip Music Festival, and instead of flying back home, Ozzy said to me during rehearsals, he said, "Hey, why don't you come down to my house, you and the rest of the band, and I can play you some of the new music I'm working on." So indeed, after the festival, the next day we all went down to Ozzy's house in his studio, and he played us a bunch of recordings. We got to meet his producer, actually, Kevin Churko, and Kevin played us a bunch of the recordings they were working on, and they were songs from this album, Scream. The album went to become Scream, yeah. So I remember hearing all this kind of like new elements, this new Ozzy sound with different things implemented in his style, and I thought it was pretty cool. You know, this is Ozzy 2010, and I was getting to hear, I was the first, like one of the first people getting to hear that. I was like, wow, I was blown away. And you know, the discussion was like, well, look, would you like to stay here and for a few days and play a bunch of solos, because these songs have no solos, no guitar over them. And of course, yeah, I stayed there for a week, I think, and I recorded on 6 or 7 tracks. I did a bunch of solos, and I remember that was a little bit of a confusing time for me, because I wasn't given specific instructions, and I didn't know what to do, what to play. Did they want like somebody to replicate Randy Rhoads style, Zakk Wylde style, like what exactly was going on? And the songs just sounded so different. So I was a little bit confused of what was the best way to go about it. I remember some of the early recordings, I tried to copy a little bit of Randy here, a little bit of Zakk there. But I remember playing him one of the songs that was actually a ballad called Time. And I remember that was one of the songs where I kind of let my own vibe come out. And I remember Ozzy loved that. So anyways, I go back home to Greece, and then I hear nothing for about a month. And I'm thinking, well, that's probably it. Either they're mixing it or they're probably working with some other guys. And then like about a month later, I get an email from Sharon, and it was a very polite email. And she said, "Look, we are sorry we threw you into this just like that without telling you anything, but we really like your playing. We'd love you to come back and give it a go from the start. You know, we'd like you to reconstruct all the guitar parts, do what is necessary for this to become, you know, a typical Ozzy album, which has obviously a lot of cool guitar all over it." So yeah, so I go back I go back to LA, and I spent about a month with Kevin Churko in Ozzy studio in Calabasas. At the time, he was living there, and it was an amazing studio. And we would go there every day, drink lots of coffee with Kevin, and have a good time, and just spend spend all this time reconstructing the guitar. So because I've been reading a lot of things over the years that people were not sure if I just played solos or what on that album. I actually played all the guitars, electric and acoustic, rhythm and lead. The only parts maybe that I did not play were some kind of intro effects that had some guitar parts, background. I think Kevin did all that stuff, all the effects, intros, outros, that kind of thing. But the actual songs, yeah, I did all the guitars. And I remember it was a really good time, and Ozzy really let me do my thing. He was not standing, breathing down my neck. He would just come downstairs once every day, have a little bit of a tea, tell a couple of jokes, listen to what we've done, and hey, cool. If he liked something, he would tell me right away. If he didn't like it, he would say, yeah, let me listen back a couple of times, and maybe I need to get used to it. And then he would just go away and just let us do our thing. And they did everything they could to make me feel comfortable, and they did. And creatively was a great period, I think, because me and Kevin worked really well together. There was obviously really good chemistry between us. There was a moment where I came up with like an acoustic intro, being inspired by stuff like Killer of Giants or Diary of a Madman, like Digging Me Down. I'm talking about Digging Me Down, stuff like and that kind of stuff, very inspired by that, by Randy and Jake Lee. And so, we wanted to come up with like some kind of epic intro for that song, Digging Me Down. Or another track, for example, was Soul Sucker. Soul Sucker had this heavy down-tune riff, and I was like, wow, what I really want to use a talk box and make this sound like a robot, like a machine, thinking of Iron Man, Black Sabbath. And the next thing was like, I'm saying Soul Sucker through that the tube, the talk box tube, and yeah, just like really nice collaboration with the producer Kevin Churko. He's excellent. I learned so much from him. So there were a lot of really cool moments. Or I remember Kevin playing me a demo, an unused demo of a song what went on to become Life Won't Wait, and he was not sure about it. And I was like, man, this is such an unbelievable, amazing song. And that song went on to become one of the singles, and it's amazing, beautiful song, and a great message. So I remember also that right after the recordings were done, I went back home, and then Sharon called me up and she said, you got to come back and do one more little thing. And I was like, what? We worked so hard on this. Like, well, the first song is going to be Let Me Hear You Scream, the first single. And I think you can do better. You can do better on that one, because that's the first thing that people are going to hear from you, from the new guitar player. It has to really blow everyone away. And at that time I was so tired from the recordings, but she was so right. I went back, I flew back to LA just for one solo. All the way from Greece, like all these transatlantic flights back and forth. But yeah, I was really thinking about that solo, and always thinking, having in mind, like our motto was everything can always be better. So we took our time working on everything, on all parts for that album. And yeah, I think Sharon was right in the end. I think this is one of my best solos ever, and I think it was a great first single choice, and that song went on to become the #1 radio song in America. So yeah, overall great times. This album changed my life forever for many reasons. First of all, because of the fact that of the recording experience, getting to play on such an iconic artist's albums, working with such an amazing producer, learning how to do things, and Kevin really helped me to bring out elements of my style and my playing that I wasn't aware that I had at that time. Um, and it was a difficult task as well. I really had to try very hard because I wasn't sure what they wanted. Like, what is Ozzy supposed to sound like in 2010? And looking back 12 years later, they achieved that. We all achieved that. I mean, and of course, this album has been life changing because of the fact that it enjoyed a different level of success than I was used to. The album was nominated for a Grammy. We went on to do an incredible arena tour all around the world, headline all the big festivals in the world, and it was like a top 10 album, top five. I mean, I think number 4 in America and top 10 like all over the world. So it was something that I'd never experienced before, and of course, it changed also on a personal level. It helped me so much. Before that album happened, I was just a musician that was making ends meet, so to speak, or just barely getting by. And of course, since that album, I was able to live a better lifestyle and be a full-on professional musician. So it opened up so many doors also after that, for business opportunities and all these things. So in that sense, this has been the life-changing album of my career. And for that, I'm always grateful, forever grateful to Ozzy and Sharon for giving a boy from Greece like me an opportunity of a lifetime. And I say this because, Greece is just a small country. It's not really known for its rock or heavy metal scene. Okay, so I have a question for you guys. I'm wondering always, did you find out about me through that time that I was spending with Ozzy, through that album Scream, or do you have any special stories? Did you happen to attend any of the shows on the Scream World Tour? If you do, let me know below in the comments because I would really like to know. I'm curious always about these things. And some closing thoughts, obviously, Ozzy had a very important operation, surgery in his neck recently, which thank God went great, and he's currently recovering from it. So I wish him all the best so he can get back and finish his farewell tour. So thank you all for watching this. Hope you find it entertaining and heard some cool stories. See you in the next one.